Welcome to Aesthetically Speaking with Felicia Lisa Middleton.
Welcome back to Aesthetically Speaking, where we are building conversations about Philadelphia's locations. This season, season 2 of Aesthetically Speaking, we are talking about everything food. And I am here with John McClinney of Yes Dear Interior Architecture and Construction. Hello, John, and welcome.
Hello, how are you today?
I'm doing well, John.
Excellent.
Tell me a little bit about yourself and about, we've worked together on many projects, but we want to really tell the audience about what you do.
All right, well, basically, I am the proud owner of Yes Dear, multi-purpose improvement specialist. Okay, so basically, we do everything from soup to nuts, from conceptualizing designs to the build design process and actually seeing the project through to its completion. Everything on the inside of that project, from the electrical, the plumbing, any structural issues, design concepts, as well as building permits, which is a very important
very important part. We both know that.
Exactly.
And the reason why we're laughing is John and I have worked on many projects together over the years. I think it's been about 5 years, maybe a little bit longer. No, a little bit longer than that.
Yeah.
But one of the key things to building permits and building in the city of Philadelphia and anywhere is you must get them.
Yes, absolutely.
And one of the reasons why is what will you see on your front door if you don't get one with the candy stripe sticker.
Exactly.
So we're used to that. John is also an architect as well as a licensed contractor in the city of Philadelphia. And one of the things I'd like to just point out is tell us a little bit about what makes, and this is going to sound really silly to say, but we have to ask it, what makes you a contractor in the city of Philadelphia? A real contractor.
Well, I think that first and foremost, you need to have an extensive amount of experience in what you do. There are schoolings and various classes that are offered for specific certifications. But again, I cannot stress how important it is to have that level of confidence in what you're doing.
I agree. I totally. And not only what you're doing, but what needs to be done for each job, because every job is different. And when you approach the job, if you realize you haven't been on that type of work before, figure out how to do it. And actually, one of the benefits of us in the architecture field is when we get jobs like restaurant jobs. I have experience in restaurants. I've been working on restaurants for 15 years. You have experience in building restaurants. So someone that you would want for your team for building and designing restaurants are people that have experience. And one of the reasons why is it's a unique project. Restaurants are so different than building a house or building an office. And one of the things is what? Mechanical, electrical.
Everything above, but necessarily the most important part for us as designers is once we meet with that client, expressing in design and form what the client was actually looking for.
Exactly.
That's the idea behind the premise. We try to give them exactly what they're looking for.
But not just what they're looking for. And I'm not saying I don't want to give a client what they're looking for, but there's a lot of regulations.
Oh, yes,
tons
absolutely.
And so we're all about giving you what you're looking for within constraints of what the city will allow.
Exactly.
And the funny thing about our city is we have two separate departments we deal with. We deal with health, and then we deal with L&I. And sometimes they don't always mix.
Exactly, not at all. Somebody's not communicating with each other. But it happens from time
to time.
And
you know what, to be honest with you, it doesn't just happen in the city of Philadelphia. Because I've done restaurants in other cities, and sometimes I run into those issues in other cities.
Same thing.
But now, when it comes to building, we talked about that candy stripe sticker that you get on the front of your building. The priority should be, and I'm sure you know this as a licensed contractor, Number one, getting a licensed contractor.
Exactly.
So tell the people a little bit about what makes you a licensed, a contractor. I'm not just going to say a licensed contractor, but a contractor eligible to build in the city of Philadelphia.
Yeah, well, there are a lot of constraints that you have. There are different levels of contractors as well. And I guess the public really doesn't understand that. Generally, yes, you could have someone come in and they may do facades for you to give you that exterior look that you want for your building. But they're not necessarily the person who can apply that application the right way. And that's where the problems come in at. In Philadelphia, they're streamlining the system now, which is a good thing.
So happy.
Yes, where you have to specifically be identified for what specific craft or trade that you come from, and literally what you can do.
I agree with that.
Of course, having the correct insurance and everything else plays an extremely big part.
You will be happy if your contractor has the correct insurance,
yes,
because
absolutely.
you need that on your
these
site.
are all key factors that one should ask prior to having anything done.
Agreed.
Looking at your credentials. 1, is he in fact licensed? 2, what is he licensed for? 3, does he have the insurance?
I agree. And when I first met John and I was considering him for some projects, one of the first things he sent to me through email was a copy of his insurance and a copy of his license.
Oh, yes.
And you had to take it up to another level, just like every other contractor in Philadelphia. You had to get OSHA certified.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. And OSHA is Occupational Safety and Health Administration.
Yes.
That's making sure that the people that work for you are safe on the site.
That's it.
So if you have a contractor that has that OSHA, then they're not only going to be concerned about your safety of their employees because they're taught that, they're going to be concerned about your own safety.
Absolutely.
So that's another layer that I am so happy that the city added to it. And then one of the things we've been talking about recently, that both of us are OSHA certified, but we're also both EPA certified.
Yes, we are.
And not necessarily with restaurants, but it's still good to have someone in your restaurant that's EPA certified. Why? Tell us what the EPA certification does.
You have to think about it. In these particular spaces, unfortunately, Philadelphia is a very old city. And a lot of the old materials are still here. Asbestos, unfortunately. We have lead pipes.
Yes.
So we even have wood pipes still here.
We do.
Underneath the city. So, it's as a designer first, it's my passion and understanding what we have, and also making sure that whatever we do is safe for the public.
I agree. Because designers are concerned about the health, safety, and welfare of the public. We are not just here to give you a drawing.
No,
we are here to make sure that your space is built for your safety and for other people's safety.
And the longevity of the project, whatever it may be. It has to stand the test of time.
And sometimes with those type of projects and with that importance, that those safety nets that are put in, thank God, by codes and by the laws and by regulations, it frustrates people because it delays projects or it makes projects longer than what someone would expect it to be. But it's overall, it's for the safety of the public.
We explain to them, it's for your safety.
Exactly. We want to give you the look that you require, but we also want to make sure the efficiency is there and the safety is there.
Absolutely.
One of the things I wanted to talk about was since you're a GC, you hire or you sub out to other contractors because it's required by the city.
Yes, it is.
You have to. John is a general contractor as well as a designer, but especially for restaurants, tell us about other people you have to bring in.
Yeah, absolutely. Even though we may have a full cohesive design put together, there are other specialties and trades that need to come in and actually render those services. One man cannot do everything.
And they should not.
And you can't, you just can't.
Agreed.
So ideally, you're running additional plumbing systems, especially in restaurant settings, the additional sinks, the larger runs that are required,
Yes.
And that requires master plumbers.
Yes.
The electrical systems. Yeah, we have not just one lamp here, but we're running a gamut throughout. Yeah, I do the calculations for the energy conservation and what have you, but once I've specified that, then we will have specialists come in who are actually qualified and licensed.
And they're the only ones that can pull those permits.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, the city of Philadelphia does not let a general contractor, unless he's also a plumber and unless he's also an electrician. And if he is that, he's Superman.
Yeah.
But you cannot pull an electrical permit. You cannot pull a plumbing permit. And that's one of the things that it's very important. We try to let you know from the beginning. You're going to be dealing with not only multiple designers, but you're going to be dealing with multiple contractors.
Yes.
You're going to be dealing with multiple engineers.
Yes.
Because even with restaurants, your plumbing guy may require, depending on how large the project is, he may tell you, John, I'm not going to be able to pull that permit unless I can get some mechanical drawings.
Exactly.
And then we have to go back to the table. And I always let people know ahead of time, when we're designing this, we're going to need possibly mechanical drawings. Now, I don't always say you have to have them because the city doesn't always make you have them. But there are times where your plumber's going to say, John, I'm not going to be able to pull this unless we get some mechanical drawings. Then we have to bring a mechanical engineer in. And that might add a little bit more time to the project, unfortunately. But it's a process.
Yes, it is.
I always tell people, I use the Sixers line, trust the process. It is a process.
It truly it is.
And you cannot rush a building job.
You cannot.
You don't want an inspector to come and think you don't know what you're doing, because then you're going to have to deal with a lot of
issues we don't even want to discuss.
Exactly.
Although I can say we are blessed that we never ran into those issues.
I agree. I totally agree with you.
Because we follow the process.
We try our best. And when you don't, I always want to stress to people, when you don't follow the process, you cause yourself more headaches and more trouble, because there's buildings all over the city where you see a red and white sticker. I always laugh. People call them candy stripe in the building. But I always laugh because if you don't follow,
cease and desist.
Yes, cease and you will get arrested if you do not cease and desist. It says it right on the sign. And I've been in situations where, unfortunately, the police came out to job sites. So this is something that's very important. Do not build unless you have proper permits.
No. Safety first, everyone.
Safety is the most important thing. Another couple of things that I'd like to talk about in someone who sees both sides of it is, what are some challenges when it comes to, because you're on the design side, but you're also on the build side. What are sometimes some challenges that you run into in merging both of those together?
Well, you always run into those problems where you come in with a solid design that a client wanted, and then they want to change in the middle of the process. John, I like the way that deck came out, but can you put a deck on that deck and let it extend out even more? And you can put it on paper, but you also explain in code to them as well.
Exactly.
So that's
the added piece of knowing architecture is code.
Exactly.
And that's so important.
Explaining that to the client. Well, structurally this possibly can be made. It will add this additional cost because we have to bring in additional engineers, and they're the say-all, be-all at that particular point of a project.
The engineer, you are absolutely right. Besides the inspectors, the engineers rule. They rule everybody.
Exactly.
And I've had engineers tell me no, that's not going to happen. And when they tell me no, that's not going to happen, what do I have to do? I have to go back to my client and tell them, this is not going to be able to be done because it's a safety issue.
Exactly.
It could be a safety issue mechanically, or it could be a safety issue structurally. And this is why there's different engineers that handle different things. Your mechanical engineer handles your electrical and your plumbing, so they're a little bit more versed in your systems. But the structural engineer, they're handling what I call the bones of the building.
That's it.
What's going to hold that building up.
And it needs, at a minimum, 100 years.
I agree. I agree. And we're seeing it.
Yeah.
We live in a city that's 300 plus years old, and we see buildings that are 100 plus years old starting to crumble now. Not because they're not built right, but because they're old.
Yeah.
And they need some loving care.
That's it.
They need some loving care. Now, as a contractor, can you tell us a little bit, just some suggestions about maintenance on buildings?
Well, that's the key. routine maintenance. A lot of times when you identify certain cracks in walls that weren't there before, you're starting to see water pool in certain areas, maybe in the basement somewhere. It's the building talking to you.
Yes.
It's letting
it's
you
almost
know
like your
it's
body,
time.
like when you need to go to the doctor.
Exactly. So at that point in time, I just, no matter how minute you may think it is at that point, the earlier you get to it, the more cost effective it's going to be for you.
I agree. And the worst thing you want to do is to shut down your building, your restaurant, because your building is talking to you, and it kept screaming at you, and you didn't listen, and now your building needs your love, and it needs some serious love.
And we do a lot of work for insurance companies as well. So unfortunately, a client may have had a ceiling collapse because of a drip that they had. And unfortunately, I've seen cases where the insurance company is like, well, when it was dripping, you should have called us. Now that it collapsed, it's a problem that you have to fix.
And that's money out of their pocket.
Yeah,
and that's revenue loss, because you're now talking about, not only do you have to shut down, but now you have to put money out of your business's pocket. And you could have used the insurance that you had. Hopefully you have it. For this issue that you run into. And all of these things in construction we see all the time. I try to push maintenance a lot. I used to give out regular maintenance tips.
Right.
Walk around your building. Again, I like the term talking to you.
Oh, yes.
Because when you walk around your building and you see part of your floor is buckling. Why is the floor buckling? It's not just because it's old. It might be buckling because of excess moisture.
That's it.
It might be buckling because it's some kind of structural issue. So again, you're built, and you got a buckle in your floor. Somebody trips, they get hurt, and it's a problem.
Another problem.
Yes, then you have to not only call the contractor to fix it, the insurance company to come in, but then you might end up calling your lawyer in.
Exactly.
So all of these things are very, very important.
Yeah, you have to pay attention.
You have to pay attention. And in construction, we deal with, people, I hear a lot of times people say to me, oh, that's going to cost so much money. And I understand things are costly, and we always want to find an inexpensive way to fix it. But ultimately, a lot of times, and we've seen this on a building recently, the inexpensive fixes and what happens.
Sure.
As a contractor, and what ends up happening? What do they have to do once they have to end up calling you?
More, because when you call me, I'm going to get to the root of the problem.
And that's the whole thing.
That's the key. I have to.
It's like you're diagnosing.
Exactly.
And I always tell people I call myself sometimes the building whisperer. The building talks to you.
Yes.
Because and you go, and you can go into an old building especially, and you can see all the different things that have happened with that building over the years. And I was in a restaurant the other day, a colleague of mine brought me in. She wanted me to see if I could do something to help the owner. And I just looked around and I could see things. And it was, unfortunately, it was a newly built restaurant. And there was a lot of things. I saw buckles in the floor material. The paint wasn't applied properly. And then we go back to this building over 100 years old, actually with EPA, building over 40. You got lead.
Yes, lead.
And you got chipping paint.
In the paint.
And even if you cover up paint with paint, if it chips, then you've got lead exposed.
Exactly.
And all of these different things, especially in a food environment, can be very damaging to your customer's health.
Yes, absolutely.
So we want to make sure that we continually, we want to make sure that our customers are not only our clients are safe and happy and are happy with their design and their building, but that their customers are safe and happy and healthy.
Yeah, it just makes for a win-win.
Exactly. Experience. So we're not trying to give you a hard time when we start telling you about permits and inspectors and doing the right thing.
It's a necessary part.
Exactly. We're like your doctor. We want to make sure that you do the right thing so you won't have problems and more money to pay out in the future.
Exactly.
So I just want to say thank you for joining us. I always enjoy talking with people that are in the same industry with me, and they know what's going on, and they're really concerned about not only the customer, but we both. I'm sure you probably like me. My business's tagline is "We love buildings." I love buildings. So just as much as I love a person,
Mhm.
not just as much, but I love buildings like I love people. I mean, and so I want to give that building that love.
That's it.
And
That's
so
it.
if you can give your building some love, then you can ultimately make everybody happy. Your customers happy, and then you can make your contractor, when he has to come in, happy. Because he's not going to be dealing with some nightmare.
That's it. That's it.
So thank you again, John.
Not a problem.
And
Thank you for having me.
I enjoyed talking with you. And we work together all the time, so you'll see Yes Dear and Urban Aesthetics and the Foodie Builder on projects in the future.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.